transfers to many other conflict theatres. But as Andy said, who would have expected to see this just 7 years after it was retired by the Army Air Corps, the Westland Lynx AH-7 of historic helicopters giving its first public display in civilian hands. Dates from 1980. It was built as a Lynx AH-1 and it was delivered in March of that year to the Army Air Corps, and this airframe is known to have served in the Falklands during 1984 when it was in service with 656 Squadron. It deployed as part of a small fleet of Army Lynx that went out there to make up the Garrison Army Air Squadron at Murray Heights, just south of Port Stanley. Much later it was one of those upgraded to Mark 7 format with new electronics, a revised tail rotor, so infrared shrouds for the engine exhaust, amongst other changes. The Army Lynx could carry up to 12 troops, some 2,000 pounds of internal cargo, 3,000 pounds underslung. Its main armament was the TOW, which stood for Tube Launch, Optically Tracked Wire-Guided Anti-Tank Missile, as well as door-mounted guns, and had a Warsaw-packed armoured advance come across the North German plain during the Cold War. Lynx like this would have operated in conjunction with Army Air Corps Gazelles, acting in the observation role as anti-tank platforms.
And as we watch this display, we're really seeing it in that kind of environment. It would be a bit lower than this, but yes, that tree line, they were very skilled at dodging behind trees and just poking the noses up at the right moment, directed by the Gazelles to loose the missiles out and get out of the way.
While none of that ever came to pass during the Cold War, the Army Lynx proved outstandingly successful in Operation Desert Storm in the Gulf in 1991. Almost forgotten now, I would say, the part they played there. The Navy used them to tremendous effect in that conflict as well. But on a single day, during that first Cold War, the Lynx AH-1 of the Army Air Corps 654 Squadron destroyed 2 Iraqi armoured personnel carriers and 4 T-55 tanks in what was the first ever operational employment of the TOW missile. And Royal Navy Lynx Mark IIIs scored many hits with their Sea Skewer missiles against Iraqi Navy vessels. It really was testament to this aircraft's performance, and I would say deserves to be far better known. Ships, including HMS Lynx, the anti-tank patrol vessel. Army Lynx like this, likewise, they were stalwarts of operations in Northern Ireland, of the various interventions we made in the Balkans, right through to Kosovo in 1999, and peacekeeping efforts thereafter, of the Iraq War in 2003, and from 2006 onwards in Afghanistan.
And of course, in addition to its primary attack role, like all helicopters, they get used for everything. Jack of all trades, utility, battlefield support, casualty evacuation, go anywhere, do anything.
Yeah, the Mark 7s like this were found, I believe, to be a little limited in terms of performance for Afghanistan in particular, so, but nonetheless did some sterling work. This was where the Mark 9 Lynx came in. This was the only one of the Army Air Corps Marks with a wheeled undercarriage. They were actually the last Lynx in British military service. They weren't retired by the Army until 2018. The Navy ones had gone in 2017, and the Mark 7s like this in 2015.
And of course the development from this aircraft is now in service with both the Army Air Corps and the Royal Navy as the Wildcat.
Yes, initially known as the Lynx Wildcat, but really there's very little commonality between the two. They're still, I would say, recognisably an offshoot.
Yes, indeed.
What made the Army Lynx like this so aerobatically capable when they were in military service was the rigid titanium rotor head. rather like the Volco Bo 105.
As seen at Cosford.
As seen at Cosford with the flying bulls in 2018. Yes, able to confer superb aerobatic performance. This was one of the last 6 Mark 7 Lynx in Army service with 671 Squadron in the training role at Middle Wallop in 2015. It was sold 4 years later to Andrew Whitehouse for historic helicopters and put on the civil register. It only flew again for the first time in civilian hands on the 19th of November last year. The first privately owned Lynx to take to the air in the UK. And we're absolutely delighted to present its debut presentation as a civilian aircraft here today. The Lynx, one of British aviation's great post-war export successes. They were sold to very many different nations, as well as, of course, the procurement by us and by the French. The more capable and later on more powerful Super Lynx maritime variants attracting customers such as Germany and South Korea. Following on from earlier Lynx deals with the likes of Brazil, Netherlands and Norway. The only export customer for the battlefield Lynx like this with the skid landing gear was Qatar, who took 3 for their police force, which have long been retired. But the service of the Lynx with the Army Air Corps very ably remembered by historic helicopters. And so, completing its sequence, the Westland Lynx AH-7.
They're on this side.
How have you managed to get so many
And it's going to be retaking its place on the flight line behind the Wessex. Was the founder and the boss of historic helicopters, Andrew